I've been interested in English harpsichords for 30 years, really. And the first big harpsichord that I made was an English harpsichord, and really that was a stupid thing to do because they're so complicated and so difficult to get right that it really is much better to start with something simpler. But that's what I wanted to do, and nobody stopped me doing it, and it was quite a successful instrument. This has been a very interesting and exciting project for me, and it began, I think, about 3 or 4 years ago, when Sokosz Augustin suggested that the Müpa needed a good historical harpsichord based on a historical original, but which was powerful enough for a big space. One thing he needed was for the harpsichord to have a transposing keyboard or keyboards, because he needed to be able to play either at baroque pitch, what we usually use as baroque pitch, which is A415 these days, but also in case he wanted to play with musicians who only have modern instruments, he needed it to play at 440, A440. And so I had to actually do quite a bit of reworking of Kirkman's design to make that possible. It's actually quite a difficult thing to do with Kirkman's design because Kirkman's keyboards were always fixed, and to make transposing keyboards they need to be able to move one semitone to the side, and that causes quite big problems. What we have here really is a slightly updated version of Kirkman's original concept, slightly modernized for sort of modern use, but in my opinion it's still completely faithful to what Kirkman did, what his intentions were, what he imagined, and in particular I think it's completely faithful to the sound he envisaged getting from his harpsichords, which the Kirkman sound is well known to be brilliant, really. It's quite it's grand, and it's a big sound. It's suitable for big spaces, and it's a sort of grand, noble sound that is generous and exciting. The other thing that's interesting about the English harpsichord makers of the 18th century, the later ones, they were really interested in getting different colors from the instrument. So they had 3 sets of strings, 2 sets at 8-foot pitch and 1 set at 4-foot pitch, which is an octave higher. And they can be combined all together, or either 8-foot with the 4-foot and so on. But then he also added something called a lute stop, which in German is called nasal, meaning it has a more nasal sound, which is caused by the jack plucking quite close to the end of the string. Kirkman started making from sometime in the 1770s. He introduced a buff stop, which is sometimes called a harp stop, which has small, very soft leather pads which push against the string and change the sound. There's also a different buff stop which comes from the lute stop dampers, damping the same strings as are played by one set of 8-foot jacks. Altogether, as far as I've been able to work out, with a harpsichord like this, you have 15 different sound colours available, which is much more than you get on the sort of contemporary French harpsichords of the time. Another very interesting aspect of the English instruments is that not only were they interested in the different colours of sound, but they also were interested in ways of varying the volume, the actual sound level. Schudi, who was Kirkman's maybe rival, maybe friend, invented something called a Venetian swell, which works a little bit like a Venetian blind. It's a frame that sits above the soundboard with a set of 10 louvers which are hinged so that they can open and close like that. And when they're closed, they completely shut in the sound, and when they open, you can open them gradually to let out more sound or less. Another one that both Schudi and Kirkman both made is a machine stop. And what the machine stop does is it's operated from a pedal, and on the double harpsichords, when you press the pedal, first of all you have to engage the machine stop by pushing a knob, and when you do that, everything is normally on. So all 3 registers are operating. And then as you press the pedal, it takes off the 4-foot and the front 8-foot and brings on the lute stop. So it's a way of changing the sound from one sound to another sound quite quickly with the foot, so you don't have to stop playing. There was also a version of the machine stop that he put on the singles, where as you pressed the pedal, first the 4-foot went off, and then the front 8-foot went off. So that had 3 positions. Normally, Kirkman's machine stop was operated by a rod from the pedal here, which passed up through both keyboards around about there, and to the main lever, which is just behind there. And of course, with transposing keyboards that can move like that, you can't have something going through them like that. So I had to work out a way of solving that problem. I've made almost everything here myself. I don't have any assistants or anybody else working for me. I do everything. So that means I made the case, which is mostly oak. It's pine underneath, but the sides are oak, so that's hard work, planing and working with oak. When you make something like this entirely on your own, of course, you know, for 20 months I've been thinking of nothing else but this instrument, and especially the last 2 months when I've been finishing it and making it play and adjusting the sound. You have to be obsessional. It's a good thing to be obsessional about something like this, and then it has to go. and seeing it go is always an emotional moment, but it's always sad to see it go. In this case, I've been able to see it in its new home, which is absolutely marvellous. It's incredible that Béla Bartók Hall is such a wonderful hall. I think it's going to be a really exciting place for it to be enjoyed and played. And so one day I hope we'll be able to come back and actually hear it in a concert in that hall.